Today, we're digging into a story that basically turned Zen Buddhism on its head. It's all about a man who couldn't even read or write, but somehow he unveiled a truth so deep it changed, well, everything. And trust me, this isn't just a history lesson. It's a really radical idea that makes you question everything you think you know about self-improvement and what enlightenment is all about. So, let's start with a question that sounds kind of impossible, right? How on earth did a poor, illiterate guy selling firewood, someone from the south of China who was basically considered a barbarian, become the leader of one of the most profound spiritual traditions in the world? Well, the answer doesn't start with years of study in a library. It all starts with a single flash of insight. You see, the head of the monastery, the fifth patriarch, needed to find his successor. But to find him, he didn't hold an election or anything like that. No, he announced a poetry contest. He told all his monks, write a verse that captures the true essence of enlightenment. Whoever wrote the deepest, most insightful verse would get his robe and bowl and become the next patriarch. Now, everyone just assumed the head monk, a guy named Shensu, had it in the bag. And his poem is beautiful, really. It's this perfect metaphor for what most of us think spiritual practice is. You know, the idea that our mind is like a mirror and life keeps throwing dust on it, so our job is to just constantly, endlessly wipe it clean. It's a path of nonstop effort. But then, this illiterate wood seller, Huneng, who'd just been working in the monastery kitchen, he heard this verse and knew deep down that it just missed the point. And since he couldn't write, he had to ask someone to write his response on the monastery wall for him. And this is what he came up with. It completely flips Shenshu's idea upside down. He's saying, what are you polishing? It's not about cleaning a mirror. It's about realizing there was never a mirror to get dirty in the first place. And right there, that's the great divide. This is where two very different schools of thought are born. On one side, you have this gradual path, the idea that enlightenment is this faraway goal you might reach after a lifetime of hard work. But Huineng's poem was a total bombshell. It introduced the sudden path. There's nowhere you need to go, and there's absolutely nothing to fix. Enlightenment is just waking up to the perfection that you already have, right here, right now. See, this wasn't just a clever bit of poetry. It pointed to the absolute core of Huineng's entire teaching, a kind of secret that's been hiding in plain sight along you are already what you're looking for. The fifth patriarch heard this and knew immediately. This guy, the wood seller, was the one who truly got it. So, in secret, in the middle of the night, he passed the robe and bowl to Huneng, making him the sixth patriarch. The core teaching was sealed. This whole spiritual journey isn't about becoming a Buddha. It's about realizing you have been one all along. This innate, perfect core is what Huneng calls our self-nature, the real you underneath all the noise and chaos. Later on, Huneng had this moment of full, complete awakening. And the things he realized are so profound because they go against everything we feel day to day. We feel flawed, right? We feel broken. But he saw that our true nature is originally pure. We're terrified of death and change, but he saw that our nature is unborn and undying. We feel incomplete, always chasing the next thing to make us feel whole, but he saw we're already complete. It's not something you achieve. It's the very source of everything. Now, the kind of wisdom Huneng is talking about has a special name, prajna. And this isn't about book smarts or intellectual theories, not at all. It's that direct, intuitive wisdom that just bubbles up from your own true nature. You know, it's that aha moment when you suddenly see things exactly as they are. It's a wisdom that's already inside you, just waiting to be noticed. And this quote just brilliantly illustrates the scale of that self-nature we're talking about. Huneng says our mind isn't some small, cramped box inside our skull. Its capacity is like space itself. It's limitless, it's open, and it can hold everything without being defined by any of it. It contains good and bad, saints and sinners, mountains and rivers. All of it fits. Okay, so if our nature is already complete and our mind is this vast open space, what does that mean for how we actually practice? This is where Huneng's insight gets super practical, because he starts tearing down some of the biggest myths about the spiritual path. This was a huge question back then, and honestly, it still is today. There's a famous story where an emperor asked the very first Zen patriarch, Bodhidharma, hey, I've built all these temples, I've supported monks my whole life, how much spiritual merit have I gained? And Bodhidharma's answer was just none whatsoever. Huineng explains why. He makes this really critical distinction between blessings and true merit. So think of it this way.
Blessings are kind of like a good investment. You do good deeds and you get good fortune back, but it's temporary, it's external. True merit, on the other hand, is the source of the wealth itself. It doesn't come from what you do, but from where you're acting from your own true nature. And that's timeless.
All right, here's another big spiritual goal a lot of people have: being reborn in some heavenly paradise, like the Western Pure Land. For centuries, people would chant a Buddha's name, hoping they could book a one-way ticket there after they die. But Huining comes along and asks a very simple question: where is this place really?
And his answer is so simple, so direct, and it just completely changes the game. He basically says the Pure Land isn't a physical destination you travel to. It's not a place on a map. It's a state of mind, and it's available right now. Your inner state is what matters, not your zip code. A pure mind creates paradise wherever you happen to be. So the big takeaway here is that paradise is portable. It's not some reward you get in the future. It's a reality you can access in the present. When your mind is straight, when it's free from all that junk like greed and arrogance and delusion, the Pure Land isn't some distant dream. It just appears instantly right where you stand.
And that leads us to the final and maybe the most practical part of all this. If enlightenment is just our inherent nature and paradise is just our own clear mind, then how do we actually live from that place? How do we make this real? Well, Huineng's method boils down to 3 pillars. First, no form, which means seeing the reality behind all the surface-level appearances. Second is no thought. Now, this is key. This does not mean stopping your thoughts. That's impossible. It just means not getting swept away by them. Imagine your thoughts are like clouds passing in the sky of your mind. You just watch them go by. And finally, the most important one, no abiding. This means you don't get stuck. You don't build a house on any single thought or feeling. You just let life flow through you without clinging. That's the practice of freedom. And this is maybe his most liberating message of all. You don't need to quit your job and run off to a mountain to do this. In fact, he gave an entire teaching specifically for regular people. He said that a kind heart, doing the right thing, being humble, being tolerant, that's the real practice. The path is found right there in your everyday life, in how you interact with people. This one quote just beautifully sums up his entire teaching. Everything you could ever search for, wisdom, peace, enlightenment, even the Buddha, it's already inside your own mind. To look for it anywhere else, as he put it, is like searching for a rabbit's horns. It's a total waste of time because the real treasure is in the one place you forgot to look.
So we'll end with the challenge that Huining passed down through the centuries, right to us. If this vast, pure, complete nature is your birthright, if it's who you really are, then what's stopping you from seeing it, right here in this very moment? The answer, as he showed us, might be a lot simpler than we think.